Hi, good afternoon everybody. My name is Gary Wilson from Core IT based in Dublin, Ireland. For many years, Core IT have worked with medicine regulators on software solutions for national agencies and the European Medicines Network on various software solutions around e-submissions and structured data. We've developed SPORIFY in response to the challenge that faced both medicines regulators and pharma companies as they move towards implementing IDMP by aligning their data to SPOR master data services. I'm sure you're all aware, SPOR is an acronym for the EMA Control Vocabulary Master Systems based on the four domains of master data: S for substance, P for product, O for organizations, and O for referentials. The OR and O for referentials and organizations are live today, and S and P for substance and product will follow. The purpose of SPORIFY is to provide a simple user interface to allow you to match, maintain, automatically synchronize, integrate SPOR data while maintaining full data transparency via our notification services showing you when your data has been changed or updated. And we underpin this system with strong audit logging and data governance. So logging into the SPORIFY system, it's a SaaS solution. It's available on the internet. Logging in, we see what we call the SPORIFY dashboard. So the SPORIFY dashboard provides an overview of the current data status of data alignment you have to SPOR today. On the left hand side, we see the activity you've performed inside the system, and on the right hand side we see the activity the EMA have performed on the SPOR master systems. As we look to the left hand side of the screen, we see our navigation area where we've broken it up into each of the domains, referentials and organizations that are available live today. And substances is on our roadmap for when SMS comes live, but we've built a bespoke piece of work here for one of our clients, and I'll show you what we've done for them and how they're starting to align their substances now in preparation for SMS. And below that we have an administration area, we have our user guides and support area, and our usual T's and C's and policies. So we'll start by looking at RMS, which is referentials. This is the first SPOR master data domain released by the EMA. A lot of you will be familiar with it already. And matching starts really inside your own organization by identifying the data repositories that you currently contain and starting to format that data to begin matching it out into the SPOR format. So to do that inside SPORIFY, we click on referentials. We can see here we have an overview which continues from this dashboard, and we'll give you further information once we start uploading lists. It's blank for now, but when we're going to start uploading some data, you'll see what it does. And RMS lists is where we have our read-only version of SPOR. So you can click into here, you can see each of the RMS lists that are available. You can click inside them and you can see what terms are available and drive down inside any of the terms and see what information is available. So as I mentioned, the data formatting and getting your data aligned to SPOR, and we provide very simple templates for you to do that. You can use either CSV files or Excel. To format your data for SPORIFY, we just need two simple pieces of information from you. A being your local database ID, and we use this for integration later on, so when you try to update your local systems, we use this identifier. And B, the term name that you wish to match against the SPOR master systems. To upload this information is very simple. You simply click on our upload button. You give your list a friendly name, so this is a pharma-dose form list, so I'll just call it pharma-dose for today. Here you can name your individual system. So if you're using any of these individual systems, you can click on them and select them so you identify your source information and where it came from. You then select the RMS list you wish to match to. So it's a pharmaceutical dose form list, so I can select the RMS pharmaceutical dose form list. Tell the system which language you wish to match in. It will automatically present back to you any language available on SPOR. Choose the file from your local computer. So here's my pre-populated template, and then tell it if it has any heading row. So I know my template has a heading, so I'm telling it to skip one row. Once I click save, the information gets uploaded to SPORIFY and the matching process takes place straight away. SPORIFY will provide 3 statuses to RMS lists out of the box. Green here where we see we've matched the data exactly. Yellow, a little light bulb icon where we have an idea or a suggestion what that term is, but it's not an exact match, so you can make a decision on it. And the grey cogwheel is where it's not set yet, so you maybe have some business decisions to make, and these may be terms that you use locally that you need to maintain, but they will never match the SPOR, or maybe they're old terms that don't exist on SPOR today. Before I move into the manual matching process, I'll upload a couple of other lists so you see how this starts to build. I have a country list. Again, I'll leave it from my default system. I'll select the country list from OR. Leave it in English. All my lists are in English today. Select my data, skip the heading, and you'll see the lists upload and the matching takes place very quickly. Each list as it uploads will have its own progress bar, and overall you get a progress bar on top so you see how you're doing over all your lists, so you can maybe make a decision then about how you're getting on in relation to all of the lists you've uploaded. Maybe you have resourcing that you need to apply to this and you're not sure how many people will be required, how much, and these percentages can kind of help you make some of those business decisions when you can start to see the effort that remains. So the three lists I've uploaded today are country, pharmaceutical dose form, and units of measurement. These lists that I'm using for a sample are real world lists. They were provided to us by an NCA and they've given me permission to use them today. And as you can see here, that overall 70% of the information they had is matched to SPOR. To continue now and start looking at how we manually match some of this data, we simply click on the list. It will take us into the detail. We'll see on the left hand side the source term that we provided the system, and on the right hand side the SPOR term where it's matched. This is conveniently turned into a hyperlink so we can click into this and see the data inside SPOR for that given term. You'll also notice that on the left hand side each of the statuses that the system has applied are available here, so we can clearly see the matched items, the items where things are just not set yet, and where we have suggestions. If we take a look at suggestions for a moment, you'll see here that we have the term capsule. We didn't find an exact match, but to see what suggested terms are available on SPOR, we simply click the search icon and the system will automatically return to me a list of all the closest suggestions that are available. If I wanted to make a decision and say, well, capsule is equal to hard capsule, I can do that here and the matching will take place. If I don't want to make that, I can just reset it by saying unset. It will bring it back to suggested. And you'll also notice that when I click in here, I have custom categories that I set up. And SPORIFY allows you to either match your data as you move through each row, or apply a custom category that we call a resolution status. So every row you move to, you should be able to resolve either by matching it or adding a category to it. So with capsule, I'll mark it as a legacy item. You'll see it starts to build into our information. And again, the graphs on our dashboards that we looked at earlier are starting to grow and show us how many of these items are now marked as legacy, how many of them are matched, how many of them maybe we need to review. So maybe this one here, we can click and say, well, we want to review that for later. And again, we start marking the data as we go through. There's powerful user roles in the system as well, where you can define per organization, and where you can maybe let people come in and review some of these items and then let other people come in and mark them as approved. If we keep moving down through the list, we just click on the search icon. Again, it will return to me the list of suggestions as soon as it finds them, and then we can go ahead and make those matches. If we don't find anything in the suggestion list, so here I may decide that the solution for infusion is the correct one. If it's not, and I want to just check for one of those words, maybe I want to look up the word dilutant, I can just start typing and see what's available on the system. So it's a type ahead search. If I look up the word oral, it will bring back anything in the system where it's either a suggested or any term that contains the word oral, so I can select from it. So it's a very powerful search, type ahead search, that you can search any term on the list right here on the screen. So that's essentially how the manual matching, suggested picking, and the manual assignment of a resolution status would work for an RMS list. If we move back to the overview, you'll start to see that our statuses are starting to build with counts of terms beside them. We're getting an overview of each of our lists here, how many systems we have, and all of that information is starting to build, giving us some of that business knowledge that we didn't have before. You may then say, well, how do I get my data out of this system, or how do I integrate it? Well, we provide two ways to do that. If I look back into the pharmaceutical dose form list we just had, you'll see up here we have an export button. If I click on export, it will give me an Excel output, and what we will give you back is the information that you originally provided us, along with the statuses you've assigned in the system and the basic RMS information for those terms. If you'd like the full RMS data model back, we provide a full RESTful API layer, and we'll give you back a JSON model with the full IDMP data model around that term. So if I click into the Excel sheet, we had the source list name that we provided, our local term ID and our local term, the status we provided in the system, and then from RMS you get the list ID, the list name, the term ID, the term name, and if there's a short term or symbol, the status of the term, modified date, and the domain of the term. So using this as a kind of a short piece of information you could use maybe to populate some drop-down lists inside your own systems. But if you're trying to populate a full IDMP database, you could use our API layer to do that. So that's RMS in a nutshell. If I go ahead and look at OMS, you'll start to see how the power of the system works for organizations. So we simply have to move to the organization icon here. Again, we'll provide you an overview. Source list where you upload your organization list for matching, and OMS organizations where we have a view on SPOR today of all of the organizations and locations available. And again, in here you can search and filter and also click inside any of these organizations. I'll just pick a random one. If we click inside that organization, you'll see the organization information, the location information. You can flick between all locations for that organization and see the translations available all on screen. You can also click on and see any of the versions that were available for the organization at any point in time. So it's very powerful and a simple interface to browse organizations. Another advantage to using SPORIFY for this is that we let you follow your organization information. So simply by clicking the star on top here, we'll follow the organization and all the associated locations and feed you back notifications when any of that data changes. You'll also receive notifications back when any data term that you're matched to changes on SPOR, or even when SPOR updates itself. And we have powerful notification settings in here that let you decide what notifications you'd like to receive and how often. So you can say you want to see when new users register for your site. That's controllable by you. Maybe you want to control the user registration yourself. You can get notified when SPOR has an update, when synchronization tells us that your local terms have been updated, or when any of your favorites have been updated. So moving back and looking at how we match OMS. OMS presents a slightly different challenge than RMS in that we have multiple layers of matching that we need to provide. So here you'll see we have a list that we've already uploaded, and I'll go ahead and show you how the templates work for this. So the templates are exactly the same format, either CSV or Excel. We also provide an inbound API service. If you would like to populate the system machine to machine via an API, you can do. But for demonstration purposes, I'll show you how we would do it via Excel. So again, this is a list of organizations that have been provided to us. You can see that there's a local database ID, an organization name, and then the address in whatever format you have it. We've realized that every organization seems to store addresses differently than other organizations. So we need a minimum of 3 pieces of information: your local ID, the organization name, and the address. If the address is in 1 column, that's fine. If the address is in 20 columns, that's fine. Once we upload this to SPORIFY, which we do in exactly the same way as we've done with RMS, we simply give it a name. So I'll give it a name. We pick the system it's come from. I'll leave it at default, and then pick the Excel file that I've just shown you. Once I've done this, I tell it that I have a heading row, and I skip it and click Save. The system will now start matching at the organization level, where it's checking for the organization names that match in the same country. It's checking the locations at those organizations to see if they match. So we'll match at both organization level and down to location level where we can. And you'll see now it brings it back. So straight away you can see now that we've matched the data, and when we click inside you can see 40% of the names and locations have matched. 17% of just the names have matched. 1% we have multiple choice, and that's where we'd find multiple organization names in the same country that are the same. Suggestions are where we didn't find an exact name for the organization match, but we have something similar, and 3% are where they're not set. Again, here on screen you see the source name and address that you provided us in a really simple user-friendly interface, so a human can come in here and check and see, is that, is this, and verify it really quickly. Where we have a suggestion, you'll see that the name is blank. So if we click on the name, it will return to us a suggested name for the organization, and we can click that. I'll show you another example of that. You can click in, it's going to bring us back the closest name it can find. If I click it, it will go ahead and then search for the locations that are available and see can it match them, and you can see once we selected the organization there, the location automatically matched. So by doing this, it's very quick and easy for you to come down through your data, see where you're at, and basically make those matches. Again, these are type ahead searches, so for example, if I wanted to look up a different organization here, I could do. So it searches across all of OMS and provides you back all of these levels of matches. We also give you the option here to add all of your categories in. So for example, if I wanted to say that I'd like to review this one, I can mark it as such, and it will start to build up. As this list was provided by an NCA, you'll probably notice inside your own organizations that you have much more concentrated numbers of lists. I have over 1,000 organizations on this list, but you can see how using the power of the system, it matches them very, very quickly. On export again, which is most people are interested in, how do we get this data back into our systems? So again, we provide it via Excel and also via API. Clicking into the Excel sheet, I'm just waiting on it to open. You'll see that we give you back your source ID, your source name, and then the address that you provided us. We then give you back, sorry, I'll make this a little bit bigger. We give you back the status you've set inside the system, the organization ID and name, and also modified dates, then down to the location level where you start to get back the location IDs and names, and down to the language that you've selected it in. The system's fully compatible with multilingual matching as well, which is worthwhile mentioning. So I know I've got 5 minutes left, so I have some time to show you how we address substances. Substances was a request we received from an NCA who wanted to start aligning their data and substance data before SMS from SPOR comes on stream. So what they done was they gathered up all of the different information repositories of substances that they had locally and sent them to us and said, could you use the power of SPORIFY to help us align our data to these? So we've built a master substance list inside SPORIFY today, which consists of the information from the WHO INN list, EU TCT, XEVMPD and FDA SRS in one location, and match them back with all of the IDs where possible, and then link them back in to the RMS ATC codes list. So you have one location you can come and look up a substance. So if I was to look up maybe a torvastatin, I can find it here. I can see each of the IDs associated in each of the systems. We have hyperlinks here that will jump you back to RMS to look at the ATC codes. And if I click in, we'll give you a brief interface on each of the systems. So this is the publicly available information from the WHO. If you remember a MedNet, you can click here and get the further information. That requires a login. ATC codes here will jump me off to the ATC codes list, and I can see where I am in the hierarchy. I have XEVMPD, which is filterable and searchable. EU TCT, the same place. And down the end we have FDA SRS. And again, we've links where possible to jump you off to any of these IDs, so you can start to maybe look them up and make sure that you're happy with all the substances. And they're very simple, user-friendly interface. On export here, we would provide you back your local ID and term and substance name along with each of the IDs from these systems. And this is as I say, this is a system that we built for a client who wanted to get these IDs aligned while we're waiting on SMS. SMS is coming from SPOR, and once it's available, we'll build it into SPORIFY to let you match all of your substance names back to SMS. But this is a demonstration to show you how we can build bespoke systems and bespoke control vocabularies in here for clients that wish to match other data systems outside of SPOR using the power of SPORIFY. So before I wrap up today, I think it's worthwhile mentioning our administration area. And the administration area is where we have a very flexible options around setting up users and roles inside SPORIFY. Clients can define their own password and security policies to align with their internal IT frameworks. And you can also set up those custom categories and resolution statuses and your own system names, where you can really define all of that data at a very granular level, all underlined with audit logs and good data governance. So that really concludes my overview of SPORIFY for today. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation and you've seen how SPORIFY can speed up and simplify your data alignment process to SPOR by addressing a lot of the pain points faced by customers who are using Excel today to try to do this kind of work. SPORIFY is online and available at www.sporify.eu, And please feel free to log on and use our contact form and register your interest, and we'll be happy to discuss your use cases with you or provide a more detailed demonstration to you and your IT teams, where we can maybe take a look at the RESTful API layer in more detail and show you how you can integrate this software with your systems machine to machine. So I'd like to thank you all for your time and attention today, and look forward to speaking to you again in the future. Thank you.